Hello, listeners. This is Kat. Welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfix. This will be the continuation of Watch Your Heroes Fall. This will be Part 4, Chapter 5, entitled Phase 1, Stage 3. Make the ducks understand that you are in charge. You aren't here to do jack shit, Dobby grumbles, slumping into the booth seat against the wall of the bar. Get lost before I get in my head to toast your miserable little faces off. He wants the threat to work because Dobby doesn't want to burn his little brother's miserable little face off. Maybe at one point he'd been bitter enough to take out his frustrations with their father on a scared, scarred child. But that all flew out the window when he saw Shoto, doing nothing for himself and everything for his friends in that forest when they showed up to abduct his classmate. Dobby could tell from that moment, from the sweat on Shoto's brow, that this young man wasn't the same as their father. He had laughed then, as he smiles now at the knowledge that Todoroki, Endeavor, Enji, had failed in creating the perfect copy of himself to rise to number 1. The green-haired, plain-looking one that had knocked in the first place, been unfazed by Toga's infatuated stabbing attempt, and then simply stated that his intentions were a non-hostile takeover, gives Dobby a long look. A shiver creeps its way up Dobby's spine. This kid knows. He looks at Dobby and sees Todoroki Toya. There should be nothing to connect him to who he was, but this random kid knows, and he's willing to use that information as leverage. Dobby has no evidence of this, but he can tell the kid knows in the way he stares and finally blinks and smiles and turns to face Kurogiri and Tomura. "May we come in?" the kid asks. "Midoriya," the girl hisses, a pleading warning from between her clenched teeth. Dobby knows of this girl more than he knows her. She's got her dad's eyes and her mom's cheekbones, and the Todorokis and the Yaoyorozu spent a lot of time together when Toya was alive. The boy, Midoriya, turns to her with a smile that makes her bite her lip and nod assent. He is the leader, apparently. Dobby vaguely remembers him screaming for that blonde brat they'd kidnapped. Remembers Shoto and a few other kids physically holding him back. What an interesting change of face to this calm, level-headed kid, with a plaster smile and knowing eyes. Kurogiri turns to Tomura for confirmation. Tomura studies his pajama pants self-consciously, mutters something vengeful under his breath, and eventually says yes. Yeah, let him in. Kurogiri does a double-take, like, are you serious, but opens the door wider, and Midoriya, Shoto, the Yaoyorozu girl, and the guy who Dobby doesn't recognize stroll in calmly and politely. Dobby grabs Toga's collar again. She's practically foaming at the mouth at the thought of her favorite little blood snack in her own home. "My name is Midoriya Izuku," he introduces himself. "These are my friends." Todoroki Shoto. Comes the next self-introduction. Then, Yaoyorozu Momo. And finally, Shinso Itoshi. Midoriya nods and turns to Tomura. "I'm here to take over, as I said," he echoes. "I'd love to do that with as little conflict as possible." "Which is why you came in the middle of the night, while half of us are asleep," Tomura accuses. "No," Shinso snaps. "We came in the middle of the night because that's when we knew nobody would notice us being gone. Thanks to your bullshit at the hero class training camp, we're in dorms now." Shoto murmurs. "The dorms aren't all bad." Dobby wants to fucking scream. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. How could they all not know? Don't they see when Shoto goes into class with bruises everywhere? Don't they see how he flinches at every passing touch? No, of course they don't. Nobody saw when Toya was alive and in school either. Midoriya taps Shoto's wrist with a finger. Tomura misses it, but Dobby doesn't. Shoto's shoulders relax marginally. Midoriya knows. Dobby is starting to wonder how much Midoriya knows. As Shinso said, Midoriya regains control of the conversation. "We're here at night because it's the only time the supervision on us is lax. If you'd like to wake up your comrades, feel free. We won't stop you." "Midoriya," Shinso cautions, expression tight and worried. Midoriya gives Shinso the same smile he gave Yaoyorozu a minute ago, and Shinso just nods, accepting. "Toga, go get everyone up," Tomura says. "Why do I have to do it?" "Because anyone else will get their head chopped off if one of Twice's asshole personalities is the one to get conscious first." Toga gives them a continent-sized pout, fingers gripping the hilt of her knife even tighter. "I'll go with you, Squirt," Dobby offers, and Toga kicks the ground before following him across the bar and up the stairs. There's 2 floors above the bar. The top floor has everyone's bedrooms, and the middle floor is kind of like a common area. It might have been a gym before, There's mounts for punching bags on the ceiling and indents from where workout equipment might have gone, but all that has been cleared out, since long before Dobby started working with them. Now it's just a concrete floor with random, cheap furniture all over. Thrift shop love seats, garage sale recliners, discarded couches. There's 2 TVs, too, a nice one on the wall adjacent to the downstairs door, and a shitty one on a stand in the middle of the room. They weave around the furniture and ascend the second flight of stairs across the room. There's 10 rooms on the top floor. They used to be offices, probably, or maybe they were always bedrooms, who knows. They got gutted by the previous owner, just like the gym on the second floor. So the rooms are blank, gray concrete. Everyone's responsible for furnishing the rooms themselves, which means the furniture is just a futon or mattress or whatever everyone could scrounge up for themselves. Toga has colored an elaborate and poorly painted mural on her wall. Twice has taped newspapers and book pages all over his room during a fit where he became convinced the concrete was mirrors. Spinner hardly ever sleeps in his room, so it's just a futon and a blanket, not even a pillow. Magne managed to scrounge up a collapsible standing wardrobe in which she keeps her thrifted clothing collection. Compress, of course, stole a whole bedroom set from a furniture store, so his room actually looks decent. Dobby's got a pile of ashes and a little dustbin, picture of his siblings under his pillow, and the softest blanket he could steal from a home goods store on his old futon. Nobody's been in Tomura's room, and nobody knows if Kurogiri even sleeps. Twice his room is first. Toga goes in and Dobby waits by the door. Twice is an okay guy, when he's sane enough to hold conversations with people outside his own head. But Dobby doesn't trust him as far as he can throw him. Too unstable. Not that Dobby's got a lot of room to talk, but the dude needs some serious therapy. "Gene," Toga calls, shaking him awake. "Hey, Gene, we have visitors. Don't you want to meet my darling Izuku? Gene, wake up!" Gene blinks and rolls himself upright. Itching the scar that bisects his face, a nice personality woke up. That's a good start to all of this shit. He grumbles out a question, and Toga gives him a quick rundown of the information while she helps him get a mask on. Spinner's room is empty. Magne is still awake, wiping off some makeup. "Hey, Mags, we got company." "Oh, of course we do, right after I've taken my face off." "You've still got a face, Mags." "And I've told you it's Magne. I picked the name myself. I won't stand for you butchering it." Dobby sighs. "All right, sure, Magne. I don't care. Just get downstairs." Compress must have heard the argument with Magne because he's dressed, mask on and everything, by the time Dobby knocks on his door. "Shall we?" Compress says brightly, and the whole crew heads down the first flight of stairs in time to hear a noise like a tornado below them for just an instant. They sprint down the second flight of stairs. The scene could not be clearer. Kurogiri is encased in ice up to his neck. Tomura's hands are bound in thick coils of tape, each of his fingers wrapped in a separate strand so he can't disintegrate them. Midoriya has a butter knife to Tomura's throat. Yaoyorozu and Shinso jump when Dobby, Toga, Twice, Magne, and Compress enter the room. Midoriya does not. Midoriya says, "They started it." "You expect us to believe," Twice growls, and then cuts himself off and pleads, "Please don't hurt them." Magne's magnet rests upstairs in her room, next to her collapsible wardrobe, and her hands flex with the want of it. "Really?" Izuku insists. "Shigaraki tried to disintegrate Shoto's face. This was a last resort." After scanning the room, seeing his own clear upper hand, he adds, "I'll let him go if everyone promises a ceasefire while we talk." There is a moment of cautious silence. Nobody dares to breathe. Shoto's got frost creeping up the sleeve of his sweater, and that's the only tell that anyone is prepping for a fight. Dobby catches Tomura's eye. "What do you want us to do, boss?" And Tomura finally says, "Do as he says. We'll have your peaceful talk and decide if we want to kill you afterward." Midoriya backs away and sets the butter knife on the counter at the bar. Shoto starts melting the ice around Kurogiri. Shinso and Yaoyorozu and everyone else breathe like it's their first breath. Everyone settles in around the bar. Hero students at the bar, stools closest to the door. Villains tucked into various booths. "How do I say this politely?" Midoriya murmurs thoughtfully. "Fuck being polite," Dobby offers. "Just say it like it is." Tomura and Magne glare at him for it. But what the fuck do they know? Dobby just wants this out of the way so he can know where he stands and why his little brother and 3 of his friends are barging into a villain's hideout in the middle of the night, trying for a non-hostile takeover, and kinda succeeding. Midoriya gives Dobby a smile like a sunny day in January. Brilliant, bright, and very, very cold. "All right, I will," He turns to look directly at Tomura. What's your actual plan now, Shigaraki? Huh? What is your plan? Your leader and mentor have been recently incarcerated. All Might, the symbol of everything you hate, is retired and injured beyond any possible future as a hero or symbol. Your organization is in shambles after the hit your ranks took in the training camp and subsequent raids. Do you even have a plan? Shoto speaks up with a quiet Izuku, and Midoriya stops, takes a breath, regroups. The relationship becomes crystal clear, if it hadn't been before. Dabi wants to fucking scream with laughter. Endeavor's son dating All Might's protege. Poor old Enji is probably losing his fucking mind. Tomura hisses. Of course I have a plan. Which is fucking news to everyone else in the league. They've been sitting on their asses for weeks waiting for something to do besides binge leverage and eat cheap convenience store snacks. Don't bother, Shigaraki, Midoriya says brightly, not even a little maliciously. You don't have a plan, and your mentor, All for One, his plan was never to the ends you wanted. This statement, of course, drops a rock in the League's tranquil lake of self-assurance. All for One had been expressly clear that his plan would lead them to the future they wanted. He had promised them, through Kurogiri and Tomura, places at his side when he and Tomura ruled the world. Their pick of careers, of lovers, of prizes, of lives, of quirks, if they just followed him. They had all been told the world would one day open its arms to them. It hadn't yet. Dabi's spine snaps with the realization that All for One's lie had been the upcycled version of what you tell peons in a multi-level marketing scheme. Dabi might as well be selling essential oils with the promise of a potential retreat in Fiji. Patiently, Midoriya waits for this realization to yank the rug from every member of the League before continuing. All for One's fight was never yours. His fight was barely even with All Might. If he didn't do this for us, Tomura sneers, and he didn't do this for All Might, then who did he do it for? Midoriya doesn't smile when he replies. Himself. His own personal vendetta. Never aligned with yours, and it never will. Maybe let us decide that for ourselves, Magne says stubbornly. Midoriya's smile returns, and Dabi doesn't miss how that smile makes the other little kids shiver. Dabi hadn't been focusing on Midoriya, too focused on Shoto, but he now begins to wonder what kind of kid smiles to make his friends shiver. I will, Midoriya promises Magne. After I pitch myself to you, each person can choose to stay or leave. Pitch it already, Toga cries. She's chomping at the bit, ready to pounce on her favorite friend from Class 1A, but still very aware of Shinso's powerful quirk. I want to know the plan. Tomura never tells us the plan. Her eyes are wide and bright, and they miss the beat of betrayal that Tomura pouts out. Dabi only gives about a third of a fuck what Tomura feels, but he gives about 3/4 of a fuck about Toga growing up and getting along with people. Zip it, Squirt. He shushes her. It's difficult to resist a takeover, hostile or not, when the troops are divided. He might not love Tomura as a leader, but that doesn't mean he'll abandon ship the second new blood comes in. Only the Yaoyorozu girl notices what Dabi did. She gives him a funny look about it, kind of confused, like she's wondering where Dabi bought his empathy. He expects no less from the girl raised with the utmost care and home, spilling its wealth out of every fucking tatami floor mat. Or maybe she's just smart, and Dabi's just jaded. Midoriya says, For security reasons, and the mutual protection of everyone here, I will not disclose the full plan, but I will promise honesty. It's more than Dabi's willing to return, but he leans back in his booth seat and lets the kid dating his little brother explain himself. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 5 of Watch Your Heroes Fall. Chapter 6 is up next. Hope you all are still enjoying, and as always, thank you so much for listening.